Lancia, an icon of the automotive industry, a company that once competed with the likes of Mercedes and Audi, a brand that represented the pinnacle of Italian engineering. And yet, in 2025, Lancia sold fewer than 10,000 cars. Today on Motor Minutes, we will explore the history of Lancia, the innovations it gave to the automotive world, and the reasons why such a legendary brand faded into obscurity. Lancia was founded on November 27, 1906 in Turin by two former Fiat engineers, Vincenzo Lancia and Claudio Fogolin. The company began producing its first chassis in 1907 and in 1908 introduced its first car to the public, the Lancia 12 HP. In 1919, Vincenzo's brother, Giovanni Lancia, suggested naming the company's cars after letters of the Greek alphabet. The original models were retroactively renamed. The 12 HP became the Alpha. This naming tradition continued for decades. Even today, the only Lancia currently sold is the Ypsilon. During the First World War, Lancia temporarily shifted its production toward military trucks, which proved highly successful. By 1918, Claudio Fogolin had left the company, and Vincenzo returned to the civilian car market. The 1920s saw the release of iconic models such as the Lambda and the Trikpa. The Lancia Lambda, introduced in 22, was one of the most revolutionary cars of its time. It introduced several groundbreaking innovations. Among them, it was the first production car with a load-bearing unibody structure, and also the first production car with independent front suspensions. These innovations dramatically improved rigidity, ride comfort, and handling. Because of cars like the Lambda, Lancia quickly became known for advanced engineering, elegant design, and exceptional build quality. The Lambda remained in production until 1931. The 1930s brought another legendary model, the Lancia Aprilia. This lightweight sedan featured a narrow-angle V4 engine, a Lancia pattern, independent suspension on all four wheels, and an aerodynamic bodywork developed with wind tunnel testing. The car was so impressive that, according to legend, after a test drive, Vincenzo Lancia simply said, "What a magnificent car." Sadly, Vincenzo would never see the car reach full production. He died of a heart attack on the 15th of February 1937. The Aprilia continued production until 1949. After Vincenzo's death, the company was taken over by his wife, Adele Miglietti. During the Second World War, the Lancia factory was heavily bombed. The company was a target because it produced trucks, including the Lancia 3 RO, which were used heavily by the Italian army. Despite the destruction, Lancia survived and began rebuilding after the war. After the war, Vincenzo's son, Gianni, took control of the company. One of his first major moves was signing one of the most famous Italian automotive engineer of the time, Vittorio Jano. Together with engineer Francesco de Virgilio, they developed a revolutionary new engine, a V6 designed specifically for road cars. In 1950, Lancia unveiled the Aurelia at the Turin Motor Show. It became the first production car in the world to feature a V6 engine. But the Aurelia was innovative in many other ways. It had a rear-mounted transaxle gearbox, inboard rear drum brakes, perfect weight distribution, and as standard it came with radial tires. The car was named after the Roman road Via Aurelia, which runs from Rome to Pisa. A smaller, more affordable model, the Appia, was introduced in 1953. Gianni was not just an engineer, he was also passionate about racing. With the support of engineers like Jano, he created the Lancia racing team, and the team quickly achieved success in famous endurance races such as the Mille Miglia, the Targa Florio, or the Carrera Panamericana. The Lancia's elephant logo also entered Formula One with the legendary Lancia D50, driven by racers like Alberto Ascari. We can say that the early 50s were Lancia's golden age. However, racing was expensive, and by 55 the company was already struggling financially. Several factors contributed: declining Aurelia sales, disappointing Appia sales, huge development costs for the Formula One car, and also the construction of the company's new impressive headquarters, the Palazzo Lancia, which was completed in 1957. Then, in 55, tragedy struck. During the Monaco Grand Prix, Alberto Ascari crashed his Lancia into the harbor. Although he survived the injury, the incident symbolized the growing crisis within the company. Soon afterward, Lancia withdrew from racing. Its Formula One cars were sold to Ferrari, and Gianni resigned and moved to South America. Control of the company passed to Carlo Pesenti, head of the Credito Lombardo Industrial Group, in 56. Pesenti continued Lancia's tradition of engineering innovation but also made strategic changes. A non-competition agreement was signed with Fiat. Lancia would build larger and more premium vehicles, while Fiat would focus on small cars. During Italy's economic boom, Lancia launched several new models, including the Flaminia and the Flavia, which was the first Italian production car with front-wheel drive. A new factory was also built in Chivasso, which opened in 63. Despite producing technologically advanced cars, Lancia was unprofitable. Production was expensive because the company built cars with very little part sharing. By 69, Lancia was losing $48 million per year, an enormous amount of money at the time. The company needed a savior. Ironically, that savior was Fiat, which bought Lancia in 69 for just 1 Italian lira. Many feared Lancia would lose its identity. Instead, Fiat initially allowed the brand to flourish. The first major Fiat-era model was the Lancia Beta, introduced in 72. Soon after came one of the most iconic rally cars ever built, the Lancia Stratos, introduced in 73. Powered by a Ferrari Dino V6 engine, the Stratos dominated rallying, winning 3 consecutive World Rally Championship titles from 74 to 76. In 79, Lancia released another legend, the Lancia Delta. The most famous version, the Delta HF Integrale, became one of the most successful rally cars in history. Between 87 and 94, the Delta helped Lancia dominate the World Rally Championship. In total, Lancia achieved 11 World Constructor Championship, 5 Drivers Championship, and 74 World Rally Championship victories. This makes Lancia the most successful manufacturer in rally history. By the early 2000s, things began to change. In 2007, Fiat reorganized its brands, and Lancia lost its clear identity. Its lineup increasingly consisted of Fiat-based luxury variants, such as newer versions of the Y and Delta. In 2011, the newly formed Fiat Chrysler Automobiles attempted a controversial strategy. Several Chrysler models were rebadged as Lancias in Europe. The Chrysler 300 became the Lancia Thema, the 200 the Flavia, and the Chrysler Voyager the Lancia Voyager. Meanwhile, some Lancia models were sold as Chryslers in other markets. The experiment failed, and by 2015 almost the entire lineup was discontinued. Only the Y remained, sold exclusively in Italy. Despite its decline, Lancia gave the automotive world some of its most important innovations, like the unibody introduced in 22 in the Lambda, the pillarless windows. It was introduced in 37 with the Aprilia, the first production V6 engine in a road car, with the Aurelia in 1950, the rear transaxle drivetrain, the independent front suspension, later the all-independent suspension, the inboard rear brakes. Also, it was the first company which used a 5-speed gearbox in a production car, in the Lancia Ardea in 48. Also, they pioneered advanced all-wheel drive systems in rally cars like the Delta Integrale, and also worked on turbo and supercharged system. Lancia was one of the most innovative car manufacturers in the world. From the first unibody to the first production V6 engine, the company shaped automotive engineering in ways that are still felt today. Yet, financial struggles, strategic mistakes, and corporate restructuring slowly pushed the brand into the background. Today, Lancia survives mostly as a name, but its legacy of innovation, elegance, and rally dominance remains one of the most fascinating stories in the automotive history. If you enjoyed the content, please give us a like and subscribe.